Hi everyone, this is Ed, the Audio Nut and Radio Amateur W8EDW. I use my computer to control my radio sometimes, my ham radio, and also I use the computer, of course, when I do my editing for my videos. And sometimes I like to have the room dimmed down, so it's hard for me to see the keyboard sometimes. So my wife came up with this idea. She gave me her old reading light, which is this guy here, and it basically has two LED lights up here. It has an on-off switch over here, and the thing is powered up with AAA batteries, 3 of them, and so it works nice, except the batteries don't last that long. So I decided to come up with an idea to power it up with a power supply. So I'll show you guys what my plan is on this, and we'll just see if it works. So the first thing I got to figure out is how the batteries are configured in this thing, and they're in the base right here. This has the pen lights, so looks like we have 3 pen lights, and it looks like they're probably in series. We'll check that out a little bit more to make sure of that. But if that's the case, let's see, 2 of them together would be about 3 volts, one more, 1.5 would be 4.5, so about 4.5 volts or so of power. So I'm going to take the batteries out, and then we'll check out how it's wired in to the compartment. So let's take a look at the battery compartment and kind of scope out how the batteries snap into the compartment here. Now I noticed that over here, this side here, the positive of this battery goes back to this negative, but this negative is actually tied to the positive of the middle battery. So the positive on the middle battery is there, it's connected to the negative, and then it's coming back to the negative post here for the middle battery. However, that middle post is tied with a plate, metal plate, to the positive of the battery on this side. So if you follow back, the battery on this side actually terminates with a spring, which is the negative, and it does not have another plate tying to it. So that's telling me that the positive is over here for the whole light going through the batteries, and then to the negative, this negative is probably tied right inside the light. So we're going to prove that. We're going to hook up a little power supply, and by touching this one and this one, we should get a light. So we'll see what happens. So all you ham radio guys out there know that no respectable ham is going to throw away a power supply that still works and doesn't necessarily have anything going to it, but you just never know when it might come in handy. In this case, it probably will. We'll see. It's a 6.5 volt DC out power supply at 200 milliamps, which would be plenty to drive those LED lights. So we're going to see if we can find the end of this. This looks pretty common. It looks like a 2.1 millimeter plug on it, which is fairly common. I'm going to dig around in the box and see if I can find a socket to fit it. So we're going to do some digging. Be right back. So I did some digging around in my last drawer that I checked. Thank goodness I have a German wife that kicks my butt and makes me organize everything. So I had a drawer marked, you know, DC connectors and so forth. And I was able to find one. This is a panel mount style connector, and believe it or not, actually fits in it. So that's going to be handy. And I'm planning on fitting this socket into the case where the batteries are, so we'll see if that'll work out. So anyway, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back on. That leaves me some terminals here that I can connect to, and I'm going to check the voltage on that supply and make sure it truly is 6.5. I got the power supply plugged in the wall, and I connect it to the socket. Center post is supposed to be positive, so that's what I hooked the positive lead to, and then this is supposed to be the negative post here. And let's just see what we get voltage wise. Well, that looks pretty good, 6.25. I'd say that's pretty close. So this power supply is probably going to work out. We will continue on and see if we can get it to work. So stand by. So here's the next step of testing. I have the red wire clipped to the hot side on the power supply, and the black wire connected to the negative side. And if you come around, remember this over here was the positive input to the light. That was the only one that didn't have another plate hooked to it, so I'm assuming that's the positive going into the light. And then if you follow the black wire here around, and it's going into the negative side over here, which is a spring. I just clip to that. So next thing is, let's plug it in, see if it works. So stand by a minute while I try to get this plugged in. And voila. Wow. It does work. So very simple, but I think that's going to work out good rather than having to replace batteries all the time. So the next thing is going to be mounting the battery eliminator, the part that's going to be in the side of the unit. We'll have to mount this battery input into the side of the case. Got to figure out how we're going to do that. So our next step is going to be to mount the battery input or the power supply input on the side of the battery compartment. And I'm thinking we can probably fit it right in here. I measured the actual socket and used my drill gauge to do that. And it came out to be about a 1/2 inch. It fits right in the 1/2 inch hole fine. So that's the direction we're going to go. I got to drill a pilot hole first, make sure we're centered up easy, and see if it's going to fit. So I clamped it in the vise, and then I drilled this pilot hole right here. That'll be our guide to drill the bigger hole. I don't know if I should try to go straight to 1/2 inch. We'll give it a try, make it really easy if we could. We'll see. So after some real careful reaming with my step bit, I had to really take our time on it because the plastic's kind of brittle. But I finally arrived at the right size hole, and this cover right here, I'm going to have to modify that, but here's the inside hole. And the cool thing is that it does fit the I keep saying the battery input, actually the power supply input. And let's see if I can get that to slip in there, hopefully. Oh yeah, cool. All right, so that fits in there. And it's just a matter now of soldering some wires onto this guy, putting the nut on the other side here. And then I'm going to have to mod this cover I think what I'll end up doing is where the hole is, I'll probably cut some cuts in here so it's kind of a square opening, and then the cover will still slip over and be able to have enough room even with the power supply input, you know, being in the way there. So that's the plan, and so we'll get going on soldering some wires on the socket. So did I ever show you guys my helping hands? I use this quite a bit when I'm soldering things that are kind of sensitive to hang on to while you're soldering. So it's kind of cool. It has an arm here and two clips. It allows you to clip on, for instance, the wire that I'm using. And in this case, I'm wiring the red wire to the hot side of the terminal here. And what's nice is it holds the terminal for you as well. So now you got both hands. You can use the solder in one hand and the iron in the other. So anyway, I'm going to break away here for a second, solder this one connection on. I've got the plus and minus wires soldered onto the socket now, and so now all I have to do is configure it onto the box. We'll give it a try here and see how it's going to fit. I got the socket put in and wired up the wires. The positive is over here, and then the negative wire goes over here to this spring. So came out pretty good, I think. The only mod I had to make on the cover, I had to cut a notch out of the side here on that to allow it to slip over everything. So I'm going to put it all together and turn it on and see how it goes. So there it is, completely done and ready to do the final test. Make sure everything works on it. It's got a feature where you click it once, one light comes on. When you click it again, then both lights come on. That's kind of a cool feature. Anyway, I'm going to now hook it up above my keyboard and see what kind of light it throws. This is how I like to have my room set up, kind of dark when I'm doing my editing. And the only drawback is that I can't really see my keyboard that well when I want to do a certain button push on it. So that was the whole driving thing of making this light, but I wanted it to be able to last a long time, and that's why the power supply. So here's the keyboard with it lit up. See, that's the difference, and makes it a lot easier for me to do my editing, and this has worked out pretty good. I'm pleased with it. So here's the light. You see how I mounted it up here on this shelf up here, and then it has a little gooseneck thing, and then the actual LED lights are shining down here towards the keyboard. So it really works out great, and pleased with the way it turned out. I don't have to worry about the batteries and so forth. So anyway, it was a nice addition to the ham shack. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys watching the video. I know it's a little weird one compared to some of the other ones I've done, but it was kind of fun doing it. And if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I've got videos coming out quite often, so you'll be notified when they do. But have a great day, and I will see you guys on the next video.